The Badgers want revenge against BYU. Here are the three players they're going to have to stop to get it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for being here. Today's episode, let's talk about this massive BYU game coming up, how the Badgers win this game, keys to the game, defensive matchups, who you have to watch for on this BYU team. Let's start here. So, revenge moment. Obviously, we know what happened last year with BYU knocking out the Badgers in just a heartbreaking game where, the Wisconsin wins that. Maybe they're primed for a little bit of a run, although BYU ended up not going on that run either because that was a tough run. Let's start with who BYU is. Who are the three players that BYU relies on? Let's kind of do what we can to make you the smartest fans in the room. Let's talk a little BYU. The first player you got to watch for if you're a Badger fan is Robert Wright. So there's really this BYU team is interesting. They're 3-1. They just lost to UConn, who's really, really good. That was a tight game. This is a really good BYU team built on their offense. It is a really good offense, and their offense is built on three guys. This is not like this year's Badger team where Winter could hurt you, Blackwell, Rapp, Rhodey, Carrington off. They have three guys, BYU, that are really carrying the lion's share of their scoring. The first guy here is Robert Wright. Guard, 32 minutes a game, 17.8 per game, 4 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. He's really good. He's kind of the engine of their team. Elite pick and roll manipulation guard. They run a lot of action through Robert Wright. He gets in the paint. He's great with a little floater, getting to the rim. Not hyper athletic, but just quick, understands angles, and is just excellent in the pick and roll game. So Robert Wright is the first player as a Badger fan they're going to have to contain. Richie Saunders, who, if you're a Badger fan, you remember him from last year. I would describe Richie Saunders as like ultimate like YMCA guy. Just does all the little things really well. He drives you nuts if he's not on your team. You love him if he's on your team. He has the headband. He has 13 pump fakes. He gets in the paint and he reverse pivots 4 times with 2 pump fakes. He just does a lot. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of activity. He gets in the paint. He scores at the rim. He shoots the ball over 5 free throws a game. He draws contact and really forces the referee whistle. He's a guy that's going to drive you nuts, Badger fans. Richie Saunders, big part of their team last year, averaging 19.5 per game, 6 rebounds as a guard, 6.5 3-point attempts, 5+ free throws. Just a vet with elite footwork, scoring ability at every level, gets out on the perimeter. You have to guard him there. And then when he gets on the perimeter, because you have to close out so hard, he'll get in the paint. Just a tough player, man. Old school type, tough player. Richie Saunders, you're going to have to watch for. And then they also have the #1 ranked freshman in the class last year, 2025 5-star AJ DiPanzenta, 20 points per game, 40% three-point shooter, 6.8 rebounds, also 5 3-point attempts a game, free throw attempts per game. He's just really natural, athletic, potential #1 pick in this upcoming draft. AJ does a great job of finding his jump shot, scoring from anywhere on the rim. He's going to be a tough guard. So those are the three guys, if you're the Badgers, you have to watch out for. You have the veteran guard in Wright that's going to get in the paint. You have Saunders, who's the perimeter player. And then you have the 5-star freshman with AJ, who can really do whatever he wants offensively. So it's a high-powered team built on those three. I think for the Badgers, your three key players in this game, you're looking for Nolan Winter, who absolutely – this isn't the longest BYU team. They play small. I'm going to get into defensive matchups in a second and where the Badgers can exploit some things and also where BYU is going to cause some troubles. But BYU is not the tallest, longest team. They've had multiple games where they've had basically 4 guards and then their center on the court or 4 guards and a forward. Nolan Winter has to be huge in this game. Nolan Winter has to be absolutely huge in this game because there's going to be a lot of perimeter action. Nolan Winter has to control the glass. He has to control inside shots, contest shots without fouling. BYU does a really good job of getting to the free throw line. A lot of that is based on getting into the paint and drawing fouls. Nolan Winter has to be huge in this game. Massive, massive key. He has to be aggressive, but also stay out of foul trouble. It's a tough balance. This is a physical BYU team that challenges you in the paint. They want you to they force you to play discipline. And if you go after ball fakes, if you go after pump fakes, you're going to get in foul trouble. The Badgers cannot afford to have Nolan Winter in foul trouble in this game. They will lose if that happens. Second key of the game is Nick Boyd, right? This is not it's not technically a road game, but it's a road game. You're in Salt Lake City. This is going to be a hostile crowd. This is why you go and get a veteran point guard. This is why you go and get a Nick Boyd, who in a veteran in a road type environment when the crowd's against you is going to keep the environment, the team calm, keep the pace where you want it, find good shots, not get flustered. Nick Boyd has played really, really well. He has to guard Robert Wright. We're going to talk defensive matchups in a second. That's a really tough guard. Wright, again, is tremendous for BYU. But offensively, Boyd has to continue to get his teammates involved, find good shots, push the tempo, but be smart about it. And then Andrew Rohde. Rohde's going to have some massive defensive matchups in this game. If I'm talking about the three key Badgers, obviously Blackwell has to play well. Rapp has to shoot well. But Andrew Rohde defensively is probably going to be guarding the five-star freshman. He's probably going to have to maybe take Richie Saunders. He's going to have the toughest defensive matchups, and all of them are hard against BYU. BYU doesn't have a lot of fat on the bone that you can say, I'm going to ignore that. Even their secondary players can shoot pretty well, so they have shooters everywhere, and then they have three kind of stars. It's a really good offensive team. You guys remember it last year. It's that type of pace, that type of system. They're going to hunt shots. This is probably going to be a shootout, but there are going to be moments, even in a shootout, where you need to stop. There are going to be moments in a shootout where you have to play tough defense, close out on the perimeter, and then not let Richie Saunders get in the paint and draw a foul. That's going to be a lot on guys like Rohde. Blackwell's going to play really well there as well. But those are the three key players for me for the Badgers. It's Nolan, it's Boyd, it's Rohde for the defensive chops. A couple comments in here. Let's see. Aiden says we're live. Let's go. Aiden also says we have a good feeling. This will be a very high-scoring game. Both teams in the mid-90s to low hundreds. Whoever has the ball last wins. Yeah, I think it is going to be that. I can't imagine either defense clamping here. The Badgers have scored a little more than BYU this season, but BYU has also played a much tougher schedule up to this point. Obviously, they had Nova, but they also had UConn. There's two really good offenses that are going to shoot a lot. They're going to get on transition. Surprisingly, neither team is very good in transition offense up to this point. So that's kind of interesting, but you're going to see a lot of that in BYU. The Badgers' depth is going to play a big role here. Again, think of a game that's going to go up and down a lot. You're playing in elevation, playing in altitude. You're going to have to get good minutes from a Braden Carrington, good minutes from a Janicki, good minutes from a Bialuskis. You're going to need minutes from all those guys. Garlock. It's going to take all hands on deck. This is a really big game, and it's a really important game for the Badgers. This is their first real test. You don't have to win it. If you lose this game, the season's not over. If you win it, it doesn't mean you're a Final Four team. But I think you really want it to be tough and competitive. I know for a fact, talking to some of the Badgers basketball players at media days, they have kind of circled this game for obvious reasons. This is a big game. Early season test. This is also one of those resume games. At the end of the year, these games matter a lot for seeding. These are really important to build up your resume. These early season impactful non-con wins are a big deal. All right, we're going to take a second here. We have tremendous friends of the show to talk about. We're coming up next. Defensive matchups. Where BYU can really stress Wisconsin. Who do I think is going to guard the top BYU players? Plus a couple keys to the game from an X's and O's standpoint. That's coming up next. Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Gametime. Gametime's incredible, right? If you want to get together with your people, your friends, your family, you want to get into the college football environments, the college basketball environments, wherever it is, get those tickets on Gametime and let's do it together. Let's go to these Badger games together. If you know Locked On Badgers, you know we do multiple events every year. I like to get those tickets on Gametime, whether it's a group of us hanging out at the Kohl Center or a group of us going to Camp Randall. Gametime's the place to get those tickets. Plus tickets on concerts, theater, baseball when it's back in season, college basketball. It's incredible. Get all your tickets on Gametime, pictures of the seat before you sit down. Plus, you get those tickets emailed to your phone at the lowest price without logistical nonsense. Take the stress out of buying tickets with Gametime. There's enough stress in this world as it is, right? There's stress everywhere you look. Don't be stressed buying tickets. Right now, head over to Gametime, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. The already great prices. Take the stress out of buying tickets. Go to Gametime, swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Today's episode also brought to you by just our incredible friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than our great friends over at FanDuel. Parlays, futures, teasers, spreads, college basketball's back. The line on this one is Wisconsin plus 5.5 on FanDuel. Cha-ching. I'm in on that. I think it's going to be close. I think it might be a one-possession game. I actually really like that line for the Badgers, and I'm going to do that on FanDuel. I might just money line them, which means I'm just going to pick them to win. I think it's kind of a coin toss game. I wish it was more of a neutral site, but even then, I'm probably taking action on the Badgers over at FanDuel. It keeps every game more exciting. There's live in-game betting. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. Head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's talk defensive matchups here. This is an interesting and difficult team to match up with because they play small, they play quick, and then you look at this Badgers team and you have Austin Rapp and Nolan Winter, who I don't know if they're geared to play a team like this, especially a guy like Austin Rapp. And it's not a knock on Rapp, but defensive perimeter foot speed is something I think he's still working towards. Adjusting to this level of play, I think, is something he's still working towards. They can create some matchup issues, BYU can. So let's go down this lineup. Let's see who I think is going to guard everybody. You start with their point guard, Robert Wright. He's 6'1". Again, Robert Wright is the locomotion of this team, their leading scorer. He is absolutely incredible in the pick and roll. He gets in the paint. He can shoot the ball. That's going to be Nick Boyd's guy. You're going to put Nick Boyd on him. And Nick Boyd's scoring 20 a game himself. Like, this is going to be a back and forth battle where they're both going to have to deal with each other, which might hurt both of their offenses a little bit. Wright's a handful. Boyd's going to have to be really good. He's going to have to be tough in the pick and roll. He's going to have to get around it. I do think you go under at times against Wright, and you see if he wants to shoot it because he's so good in the paint, but that's going to be Boyd's assignment. Then you have, let's go to Richie Saunders, the guard, 6'5". I think that's John Blackwell's guy. I think you put Blackwell on Richie Saunders. Athletically, I think he can hang. He needs to be really disciplined. Saunders has a bunch of pump fakes, great footwork. He'll get in the lane and reverse pivot and pump fake, and then forward pivot up to a layup. But I think Blackwell can stay with him. That's a big assignment. I give Blackwell to Saunders. Then you go into a guy like their 5-star forward, their 5-star true freshman, AJ Dispensant. Oh, I mispronounced it. Dipansa. I apologize for that. I'm jacking his name up. But he's their 5-star freshman, really good, averaging 19 per game. I think that's Rhodey's guy. He's a little bigger than Rhodey, probably a little more athletic, but Rhodey's a veteran. Rhodey moves his feet pretty well. He can play physical. He can get up underneath them. I think you start with Rhodey on AJ and see how that works out. And then they're going to either start a smaller forward or they've mixed it up a little bit, but I think probably Austin Rapp goes on Boskovics, their 6'10" forward who started against UConn. And then you have Nolan Winter against Kita, their 6'8" center. He's a big physical kind of powerhouse. That's where, again, Nolan Winter has to play really tough. Now, BYU can throw a wrinkle in this and play really small, in which case you're going to need Austin Rapp to guard one of their more athletic forwards and hang on the perimeter. It creates some tough matchup problems. Defensively, for the Badgers, BYU, I mentioned some of the pick and roll issues they give you. Their pick and roll offense right now, 1.33 points per possession. That is basically the top mark in college basketball. It's in the 100th percentile. When they're pick and roll ball handlers scoring, they're as good as it gets in college basketball right now. That's, again, where Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, those players are going to have to be incredibly locked in for this game. They're going to have to be really ready to go because that element of the BYU game is just incredibly tough to deal with. And then in transition, which team can get going, which team can get easy looks. BYU's defense is actually really bad in transition. So if you're a Badgers fan and you're looking for ways for this Wisconsin offense to exploit BYU's defense is 12th percentile in college basketball in transition right now. They're giving up 1.21 points per possession. That's really poor. Points per play, that's really poor. And that's something Wisconsin, if they can get out in transition, if they can run the floor, hit early shots, I think they can exploit that part of BYU. Listen, I can't wait for this game. This is the Badgers' first real test. And I really can't wait to see how they play. Again, it doesn't mean the season's over if you lose. It doesn't mean the season's going to be elite if you win. But it is our first test. It's our first real look at this Badgers team against a really good opponent. And I can't wait to see how they play. I can't wait to see what the rotation looks like. What does Greg Gard do? Is he still 9 deep? Does Hayden Jones still find minutes? I think that is a really interesting question. I'm not sure that he does. This might be the game where that lineup tightens a little bit to 8, maybe even 7, right? Maybe it's just, at least 8, because you're going to get Garlock, Bieluskis, Janicki, and Carrington for sure. But maybe you don't see Garlock and Hayden Jones. Maybe the rotation is 8 this game. I think it's going to be really interesting for that. A couple keys from a team standpoint. I talked about a couple key players for the Badgers. You have to keep them off the line. They have a couple guys that get 5+ free throw attempts per game. You can't give them easy ones, which means if you're in the paint, hands up, wall up, show your hands, and don't go for the pump fakes that Richie Saunders is going to give you. He's really good at drawing contact. Wall up, hands up, make him make tough shots over you. And if he does, it's fine. There's going to be 1,000 possessions in this game. Keep playing, right? Push the ball in transition. It's going to be hard. You're at altitude. It's going to be a tiring game, but they're not very good defensively in transition. You can exploit that if you continue to run and find open shots. And then Nick Boyd's got to control it. Mike Witt says, what's up, Brian? What's up, Mike? I think we win tomorrow. Just a gut feeling. I love it. I think it's a coin toss game. Wisconsin can absolutely win this. I think it's like a 93-90 game, 94-92, 88-86. I think it's a high-scoring upper 80s, low 90s game, and it's going to be separated by possession, in my opinion. So we had a comment up earlier, like whoever maybe has the ball last wins. I could definitely see that. Or whoever has the ball last has an opportunity to win. Maybe it's like the BYU-Wisconsin game last year where that last opportunity doesn't necessarily go in. But I think it's that type of game. Aiden says, keys to the game, Rhodey getting steals and big defensive plays and getting to the free throw line. Need to get physical when they have the smaller lineup and draw fouls. I love that. That's really well said. And Rhodey's one of the guys I highlighted because I think there's going to be so much scoring in this game. Who is that guy who can get a couple key stops for the Badgers? I think it's Andrew Rhodey. I think it's Rhodey on a key possession, really playing that type of team defense he's able to, maybe getting under the skin of the freshman AJ, maybe walling up on Saunders. He has to be really, really sound in this game as that defensive stopper. And then, when they go small, and they have a tendency to do that, they'll play 4 guards and their center, Kaida, at 6'8". When they do that, you got to punish them. Nolan Winter in those moments has to play huge. Austin Rapp has to play huge. Those are moments where you can punish them a little bit. Will you be able to? That's going to be a question. Because BYU is going to want to space you out and shoot. They're going to want to get in transition with their small lineup and kind of cut you up offensively. Can you punish him on the other end? I can't wait for this, guys. Badger fans on Wisconsin. Let's beat BYU. Let's get some revenge. And we will definitely do a live show after on Wisconsin. Enjoy the game if you're going to be there. And we will definitely talk later.